Welcome everyone to the Healthy Habit Podcast, episode number 226, with Dr. Kate Rhéaume here representing Natural Factors, who's been a longtime guest and doing amazing check-ins here with the company and everything going on at Natural Factors and giving us great clinical insights. And I'm your host here of the show, Dr. Dayan, at Healthy Habit Medical Center, located right inside Healthy Habit Health Foods, going on, actually this week is 6 years that we opened our medical center here in the store. So it's a big week here. And if you haven't stopped by yet, come check out the store and or clinic. And Dr. Kate Rhéaume is author and naturopathic doctor, graduate and former faculty member of CCNM in Canada, which is the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine. She lectures internationally on many topics related to health and wellness and is a frequent guest on radio and television across North America. She's the author of the best-selling book, Vitamin K2 and the Calcium Paradox, How a Little-Known Vitamin Could Save Your Life. And today we're going to be breaking down why everyone's feeling so fatigued, tired all the time. Better mornings with better energy is the topic of today. Dr. Kate, welcome back.
Thanks, Dr. Dan. Great to be back.
Well, I'm excited always to talk with a fellow naturopath and Canadian. It's always a pleasure. So we're going to be discussing, like I just mentioned, fatigue. What's causing this? Why are mornings so hard for some people? Let's dive right into that topic.
Well, that's a big question. There's a lot of reasons that people could wake up unrefreshed or have trouble getting up to speed in the morning. Of course, sleep quality, it would be number one thing to consider. And but we won't, I don't think we'll really get into that as much. I know we've talked about sleep and that makes its own fantastic conversation, but there's other reasons. I think if people aren't sleeping well, they generally tend to know, although it's worthwhile checking in whether you're getting the right amount of quantity and quality of sleep. That would make you feel sluggish in the morning. But if you think your sleep quality is okay, but you're still having a hard time getting going, that may be, maybe your sleep quality isn't okay and you don't
Right.
realize it, or maybe things that should be happening during sleep that gives you energy in the morning isn't happening. And sometimes it can be even adrenal glands, since they set our circadian rhythm for the day.
That makes a lot of sense, and some people, they like to just blame the genetics. My parents, my sister, they all have problems with sleep. Therefore, I have to have problems with sleep. What are your thoughts on that? We have a lot of control over this, don't we?
We definitely do. Yes. Maybe you're eating the same diet or living a similar lifestyle as your parents or your sister or whatever, and that's why, you may have that predisposition. But that doesn't mean that there's nothing you can do about it, or it's a sentence or a prescription or something that's definitely going to happen to you. There's always things we can do to, make an improvement, especially in the sleep department. There's lots of things we can do to sleep better, faster, as well as have easier mornings.
So let's dive even deeper then on specific environmental or lifestyle factors. What are some low-hanging fruit, we like to call it, that we can start just chipping away at and already starting to improve sleep just from that alone?
Yeah, so, doing our due diligence, we have to mention, of course, exercise and regular exercise, really important, improves sleep quality, and helps create mitochondria, which in turn help you create more energy while you're sleeping. We can talk a little bit more about that later in the discussion. So that's really important. And then there's the sleep hygiene tips, setting a sleep-wake schedule and sticking to it, sleeping in a dark room so you optimize your body's production of melatonin. On the end, other end of that, you want to wake up and look at light in the morning to shut down the melatonin and help your cortisol come up in the morning the way it's supposed to. So that's, those types of sleep hygiene tips are important. And of course, avoiding processed foods, a generally healthy diet, avoiding the things that we know, high glycemic index foods that spike your blood sugar will interfere with your sleep. And so that is another aspect of, good nutrition. It's an aspect of good sleep.
And people don't realize that what you eat can influence sleep. They might be like, come on, how can that have an effect? But if you're inflamed from your diet, right, and your
hmm
brain's not relaxed and your nervous system's in overdrive from nutrition, that can definitely play a role. I would even add that people don't challenge themselves physically enough during the day and or week with like intense hikes or biking, right, or some weightlifting or swimming, so that your body just passes out, right, towards the end of the day. Just what do you think about that? You agree?
I totally agree. I love that you brought that up. And sometimes when people think exercise, maybe it's a big, long commitment, but you're better off doing a shorter amount of intense exercise than an hour-long walk. If you have a time for an hour-long walk, that's great.
Right.
But if you only have 5, 10, or 15 minutes, you can still do something that's challenging and that makes a difference in your health and helps you sleep better.
Couldn't agree anymore. Amazing. So, what about caffeine? What are your thoughts on that? Cutting it off maybe early in the day. Obviously, some people are fast metabolizers, some people are slow metabolizers. Tell us about caffeine, where you stand on that.
Mhm. That is one thing that is often overlooked, or I think people underestimate the
Yeah.
effects of caffeine. If you're having any trouble sleeping, then definitely want to cut back on caffeine, arguably even from noon onwards. Caffeine in small amounts, it's a nootropic. It can help your brain work a little bit better for sure. But even the people who say, oh, I can have a cup of coffee and then go right to sleep, new research is showing that maybe that's not working so well. Adenosine is the compound in our bodies that makes us feel tired.
Right.
It plays a big role in sleep, and caffeine blocks you from being able to feel that. It doesn't actually give you energy, it just tricks you into thinking you're less tired. And so, even for the people who say, I can have a cup of coffee and go to sleep, they aren't necessarily sleeping as well as if caffeine wasn't in the picture or in their
Right.
bloodstream.
Just falling asleep doesn't necessarily
Mhm.
mean good sleep, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely true. And it has a pretty long half life. Like, even if you stop drinking it at 11 a.m., it's still in your blood at midnight, the caffeine
That's
you
right.
had. So, very important thing to talk about. There's decaf alternatives. You can even get half calf. Try that. And we're talking with people if you're not waking up rested, or if you carry one of those sleep monitors. What are your thoughts on one of those watches, like an Aura Ring, to track sleep? Do you think that's overrated, potentially beneficial to see the sleep throughout the night?
Yeah, it depends on the individual. For some people, that's motivating and it confirms the experience they've had. And so that helps for them to see, oh, I do need to make changes. Other people get preoccupied with it, and that can be problematic. So it really depends on the person and the technology, how easy and unobtrusive it is.
Absolutely. That can become crazy on its own. Like checking your weight, for example, if people are on the scale 5 times a day, right? Trying to track their weight.
Yes.
Similar
Yeah.
idea.
Exactly.
Perfect, folks. If you're just tuning in, episode 226 with Dr. Kate Rhéaume, all the way from Canada, joining us here representing Natural Factors, fellow naturopathic doctor. We're breaking down sleep, how to start your days off with better energy, and just improve your overall depth of sleep. So, we want to plug in some potential products that could assist vitamins, minerals, herbs that can support energy generation and helping us deal with stress, like the AdrenaSense product, for example. Like the name suggests, adrena, like the adrenals. Tell us about the AdrenaSense product. How can this fit in with everything else we've already been discussing? Exercise, sleeping with blue light blockers, darker rooms, cleaning up the nutrition, maybe cutting down caffeine intake. What about also supporting the adrenals with herbs and vitamins?
Completely. We started the conversation, by you were asking why are mornings so hard for some people? And part of a good morning is that you have a rise in cortisol in the morning. That is part of our
Right.
normal daily rhythm that gets us up and going. If that rhythm is out of whack, then you can feel sluggish in the morning if you're not getting that little boost that you need. So this is regulated in part by, yes, a good night's sleep, but also the connection between our brain and our adrenal glands, this HPA axis. And one way to get that daily rhythm and that system regulated again is with adaptogenic herbs. So these are plant-based medicines that help our adrenal glands produce the right amounts of hormones at the right time of the day. So we want a little bump in cortisol in the morning,
Right.
and then we want it to wear off as the day goes on. So the AdrenaSense is a combination of a number of tried and true adaptogens that help in different ways. They tend to act synergistically. So, for example, there is ashwagandha in this formula. There's a Luthracoccus, which is Siberian ginseng, not a true ginseng, won't affect your blood pressure, but tons of research around a Luthracoccus in terms of stress response, normalizing our adrenal glands response to daily stress. Suma is in here. This is sometimes called Brazilian ginseng. Again, not a true ginseng that will elevate your blood pressure, but that's a term that is applied to a number of herbs that have a long history of use for their ability to help us cope with stress and feel better and more resilient in the face of stress. And then one of my all-time favorites in here is rhodiola. And
Uh-huh.
that is this is a plant-based medicine that helps like an adaptogen, so it helps us cope with our physical stress, but it also provides a very gentle lift in mood. So I love rhodiola for that, especially for people who have been burnt out, stressed out. You may feel depleted or kind of flat in your mood, and rhodiola can really help with just a gentle lifting in the mood.
I completely agree. Those are two of my favorite herbs for athletics, for fitness, rhodiola and eleuthero. Really
Mhm.
well studied in Russia too.
Mhm.
And so again, so an adaptogen, it helps us. It's like putting a shield on to the stressful world around us. And I would even include poor sleep. If someone's sleep isn't restful, would you count that as a stressor?
Oh, definitely. And there can be a chicken and egg or like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And so even though this isn't a sleep product per se, for some people who are stressed out, they're tired and wired at night, they're exhausted in the morning, again, getting that circadian rhythm back on track and feeling more resilient in the face of stress, which is exactly the idea behind the AdrenaSense formula, that in itself helps with more restful sleep.
And I want, if the fellas are listening to this episode, this isn't just for women, even though it's from the Women's Sense line. This is literally just herbs that men and women can take. It was crafted part of that specific Women's Sense line, which has other products in there for women's health. But ashwagandha, for example, can even help with testosterone. If we go ashwagandha, testosterone, men, you can read about that and how there's randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trials on this, how it can increase testosterone levels in both men and women. So you can see this study here from this article, 5 ashwagandha benefits for men. If you just go ashwagandha, men's health scholar, you'll have you can be rest assured that this isn't just for women's health. Correct, Dr. Kate?
Oh, definitely not. No, this is, I mean, men and women both have adrenal glands.
Right.
These circadian rhythms, these daily rhythms, these herbs work the same way for both. And you're right, there are these additional benefits that we're not even talking about here. But in terms of, you're right, testosterone, which can be huge, make a huge difference in terms of well-being for men and women, to be honest. But that is another one. And actually, we're talking about sleep. The Latin name of ashwagandha is Withania somnifera. The
Mm,
somnifera part means sleep, and it's right
right.
on the label here for occasional sleeplessness or interrupted sleep. Ashwagandha goes back thousands of years in terms of its use in sleeping.
And then some people, they look at every single letter on ingredient labels, which they should. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's very important. But clarify what these percentages are here, like rosavins, eleuterosides, schizandrins, and then withanolides. What is that referring to exactly?
This is so important because I have seen more and more botanical or plant-based medicines, herbal products, you can say, entering the market where you'll have a bunch of herbs listed with nothing specified, which means you don't know how much of the individual herb you're getting
Yeah.
and whether that herb contains the active constituents that you want. So for each herb, typically there's an identified active constituent. So in the case of rhodiola, they're called rosavins. And the specific percentage of those rosavins is listed at 3.5%. May not sound high, but that's considered to be a therapeutic dose of the active ingredient in rhodiola. Same thing with the eleutherococcus or Siberian ginseng, eleutherosides. Schizandra has schizandrins. Ashwagandha has withanolides. And so you want to see those, the numbers and the percentages, as well as the amount of herb, because you can have, you know, a gram or a whole bunch of a herb, but if it doesn't have those active ingredients in it, it's not helping you. So those numbers and that designation is really important.
Thank you, Dr. Kate. I appreciate that. Basically, breaking down the active components that are doing the work, that are bringing about the health benefits in that specific botanical. So again, that was the AdrenaSense formula from the Women's Sense line. Again, it's a unisex product, even though it's from the Women's Sense line, and we've covered that in previous Natural Factors episodes as well. So let's say someone starts taking this and they start feeling a little bit more energy throughout the weeks, and or maybe their sleep is getting deeper. What's exactly going on there? If we're able to nourish the adrenals, what's the take home there? How is that going to help energy if the adrenals are better taken care of and our stress response is improved and better taken care of?
Great question. And, to back up a little bit, people may be wondering, well, how much of this do I have to take for how
Right.
long? How quickly do I start feeling better? And with this formula, often, the recommended dose says 2 caps once to twice a day. Often, especially if people have been burnt out, depleted, then the 2 caps twice a day, usually morning and midday, something like that. You don't want to take it right before bedtime. Not that it will necessarily, it's not a stimulant. Rhodiola in particular, if you take it right before bed, it can cause a vivid dream. So
Mm.
often most people need that lift in the morning. We're talking about slow morning. So 2 caps twice a day, morning and midday. And some people feel better, within a couple days. Usually with the adaptogens, it may take a week or two to get to that real sense of calm but sustained energy, resilience, improved sleep. You didn't get burnt out overnight, so give it a little bit of time and then stick with it. I would say most people stay at that dose for at least one bottle's worth. And then at that point, depending on how they're feeling, they can taper back to a lower dose, maybe half, whether that's just 2 caps in the morning or 1 cap twice a day. You can sort of play around with that and see how you feel. Excuse me, and then maintain on that. It's also natural for people after a while to say, I feel great, so I'm going to stop taking this. And then
Right.
after a few months of stress, I don't feel so great anymore and get back on it. Why did I ever stop taking this? That's totally fine. It's very common. That's human nature. So it's safe long term, or for people who I find naturally will just start feeling better and then think, okay, well, I don't need to take this anymore. That's
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
too.
Thank you for that breakdown. And of course, it's on an individual basis. We're not giving any medical advice or specifics. You got to see where you're at, play around with it, work with your naturopathic doctor if you already have one, or come visit us here at the clinic, and we'll go from there. So, one thing, fatigue can be caused from low thyroid, it can be caused from even excess body weight, not moving enough, poor sleep. Low iron is a really common one. Anemia, that could be B12 deficiency anemia, folate deficiency, or even iron deficiency anemia. But the one thing that's said often to women, especially due to menstruation, is that you should just start taking an iron supplement if you're tired. Is it more of a myth, or what are your thoughts on that? Just go ahead and start pounding iron. What if
Yeah,
you're not low in the blood? But yeah, let's hear your thoughts on that idea.
definitely not good advice. This is also, I would say, a myth that's persisted for a long time. Feeling tired, take some iron. You should really not take iron unless you've had blood work to show that you're low in iron,
Hmm.
because iron is really important. We need it for many aspects of health, and iron deficiency is common. But if your iron levels are normal or in a healthy range, adding more iron won't necessarily make you feel better. It's also a major pro-oxidant. And so that is something that you need to get checked. Also want to make sure you're not high in iron and adding to that. It's less common, but it certainly happens. So that is can make a really big difference in fatigue. And definitely if you're fatigued on an ongoing basis, it's not just slow in the morning and then you get up to speed.
Right.
Definitely have your iron checked, but don't just take it for no reason or without knowing if you need it.
Yeah. Get your blood tested, folks. There's people that come to us that it's their first blood test in 9 years or ever, actually. I've had a lot of men, especially in their
Mhm.
60s. They've never tested even their testosterone level. So go get a blood test, folks. Get that ferritin checked, iron, percent saturation, and all that. Get a full iron panel. And we have about 5 minutes here, Dr. Kate, but I did want to at least introduce, and I'll do a screen share here, from Whole Earth and Sea. We have a gluten-free, vegan, non-GMO powder that's known as the Beets and Berries blend for nitric oxide boosting. It is a fully certified organic product. You can start breaking this down for us while I pull it up here on the screen.
So this is harnessing the power of beet roots, which have been shown in a number of small number of studies that they will help increase nitric oxide in the body. Why the heck would you want that, or what does
Right.
that do? Nitric oxide will help dilate blood vessels to help increase blood flow. And so this is important in addition to the fact that this is full of the red berries, things like blueberries, currants, all of those intense colors signal lots of antioxidants. So an antioxidant boost here, but the addition of the beetroot adds this nitric oxide component for is supporting healthy circulation.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for breaking that down. Beets, blueberry, blackcurrant, acai. Really cool blend. I really like this. There is a little bit of iron in there. I mean, definitely not, wouldn't be like a replacement for an iron supplement, which we were just discussing. Gives you only 2% of your DV in there. And what's your favorite portion of this, and why is the acacia fiber added in there? Tell us a little bit about that.
This is a nice source of potassium, and that's important
Yeah,
too in terms of regulating our electrolytes and various aspects of health. But the acacia fiber, this provides, first of all, a healthy type of, you could say, bulk to the supplement so you can have an even distribution, make sure you're getting some of each of the compounds and constituents with each scoop, as well as being a soluble fiber. This acts like a prebiotic, so goes into the gastrointestinal tract, acts like a food for the beneficial bacteria in the microbiome, helps them make beneficial postbiotics, as they're called.
right.
And so it's a way to deliver these ingredients in a base of this nice soluble fiber.
Amazing, amazing, Dr. Kate. And this is something that you can apply just in a smoothie, water once a day. What's a typical dosage on that? One scoop a day, twice a day? How would you approach that?
Yeah, one scoop a day, and you can put that into your morning smoothie. Or if you're not doing a morning smoothie, you can have it on its own. You can have it before a workout. A lot of the research on this has shown this nitric oxide boost within 20 to even 45 minutes. So it's a pretty short period of time that you will get this effect in terms of the nitric oxide and the support for circulation.
Perfect. And I like that one of the other ingredients is organic coconut water, freeze dried for some flavor in there. That's not a common addition into products. And I really love coconut water, especially here in the desert. Super hydrating, really good source of potassium as well. And we're coming to the tail end here of the interview with Dr. Kate here, episode 226. It's been super informative so far. It's always good to talk to a fellow clinician. And you're not currently in practice, right, Dr. Kate? Is that correct? Or you're,
That's right. My practice is on hold because I
yeah,
am busy full time doing all kinds of things.
perfect. But it's still decades of experience that you're bringing to the table here. So I always appreciate that. What's a good take home here? We've covered a lot of important stuff here, from myths about taking iron. Just if you're simply tired, just start taking iron. We dispelled that myth and encourage blood testing. We've covered the caffeine, even your brief thoughts there on sleep tracking technology like Aura rings, how that can be potentially become too obsessive, like checking your weight too much throughout the day, and even the AdrenaSense formula. What do you want to leave our listeners with here on all things energy generation? We need like 2 hours on this episode, Dr. Kate. There's so many angles we could cover. So what's a good take home?
Well, the take home is, first of all, if you're not feeling as energetic as you'd like, you want to try to get to the root of what is happening. And that may involve getting some blood tests, making sure you're getting everything checked out. And then if not, depending on what your symptoms are, you're having a hard time getting up and going in the morning, really nothing beats adaptogens for that. I really love them for that reason. And everybody's under stress. And so considering that, adaptogen combo that we talked about can make a big difference. At the end of the day, you want to try to pinpoint, ideally, if you can, maybe the sources of your fatigue or lack of energy. And we didn't even really get a chance to talk too much about mitochondria, but maybe we'll
Yeah.
save that for another episode. The point is, you can be feeling better a lot quicker, maybe, than you expected.
Right. Yeah, the mitochondria are basically those energy producing factories, right, in all the cells of our body. And maybe in the next episode, we'll highlight the Regener Life formula, which I've taken several tubs of that, which is a really unique blend. So thank you as always, Dr. Kate, for your time. Always appreciate it.
You're welcome, Dr. Dan. Great to see you. Take care.